Hello, Toaster Party, and today I'm bringing you my budget builder deck tech for dual avatar. So my dinosaur list isn't ready yet, so I decided to go with the list I had prepared instead. Without further ado, let's get into the actual list and archetype. So dual avatar is a new archetype released in Phantom Rage that is a fusion-based archetype with some incredibly powerful tools, but the actual payoffs are a bit middling. Well, I hope that eventually the archetype will receive one more support card at least that will push it up to meta relevancy. I think the list that we have right here is at least pretty good, at least for the archetype that it's in right now. Without further ado, let's get into the cards. First up, we have Cyframe Driver, because you're running Gamma, duh. Up next, we have Yuffie of the Dual Avatar Fists. This one, when you can pop a dual avatar monster, destroy it, and then you can add a dual avatar spell from deck to hand, which allows you to get into probably the most important spells in the deck, which are dual avatar invitation and the field spell. It also has a floating effect that if a fusion summon and monster uses an effect monster material is destroyed, this card gets added back to hand. So it's both a search and recursion. Also, you can make a lot of tokens in this deck, so you can also sometimes just pop one of those instead of having to pop any of your actual normal summoned monsters. So it can be a +1 instead of a 1-for-1. Up next, we have two Skullmeister, a really nice hand trap, which we have more in the budget for because dual avatar is super cheap. Up next, we have the next dual avatar main deck monster, and the only other one, which is Kokoku, the dual avatar feat. This one on normal summon adds a spell or trap from deck to hand. And this is the interesting thing is that this is on normal or special summon, and because the deck does have a Monster Reborn trap, then it makes this second part a bit more relevant. It also has a second effect that if a face-up dual avatar monster you control except this one's destroyed, you can special summon this from hand. So if you pop your Yuhi or something or a token, you can special this to field, which then also triggers the search effect. You can also destroy one dual avatar monster you control after this card special summon from your hand, and then fuse it together. So basically it's trying to use the tokens again. Up next we have the 3 Gamma, 2 Effect Veiler, 3 copies of Fusion Deployment, a card that basically searches either Yuhi or Kokoku straight to field, but it fusion locks you, but you can't really do anything else because you're going to get fusion locked with the best card in this deck anyway. 1 Rhoda, 1 Terraforming, because they both search up your 1-card starters. Well, they both are 1-card starters because they get you into your 1-card lines. Then you have 1 copy of Soten, or the Dual Avatar Invitation, which is a card that says, this card 1 card, and if you do special summon as many Dual Avatar Spirit tokens as possible. Also, for the rest of the turn, you can't special summon for the extra deck, except fusion monsters and tokens you control are destroyed during the end phase. After summoning these tokens, you can then fusion summon twice using Dual Avatar stuff. And then up next you have 3 copies of Dual Avatar Defeating Evil, a sort of Icarus attack type card, which is one of the few pieces of targeted disruption that you can use. Well, I run 3 because it is one of the few ways of having like a just generic pop on your side of the field. It also, if you pop a fusion monster and your opponent's card, you get to draw a 1 card or banish a card from your opponent's graveyard. So it has like a little bit of flexibility. I kind of wish there was a little bit of a better back row, but this is kind of the best disruption back row that you got, aside from the trap that tags out for your fusions. We have Perfect Sync Aeun, which is a... Also to mention, it's a worse Icarus attack because it only destroys one card your opponent controls. Next, for Saint Ayun, it's basically just a searcher. And when you control a dual avatar effects monster, you can then just special summon a dual avatar effects token, or dual avatar token. Up next, we have the dual avatar Ascendance. That's the one that will pop a card or dual avatar on your side of the field and then tag out for one from your deck or extra deck that is either one level higher or one level lower. And when it's sent to the graveyard, you can banish this card and then add a dual avatar from your graveyard to hand. So it's some recursion. Next up, we have Dual Avatar Return, which is a back to the front, and it also makes a token. Then we have Torrential Tribute. It's a really good card. And because of some of the floating effects, you can tag out for something else. Honestly, I'm thinking about cutting maybe one copy of this and adding a second copy at the back to the front. Up next, we have two Dual Avatar Compact. They allow you to banish any Dual Avatar spell or trap from graveyard, and this card's effect becomes that card's effect. And finally, 3 Rivalry of Warlords, because every card you're playing is going to be a warrior. Ignore the 3 extra deck cards that are not that. The only cards you're going to be playing are going to be warriors. Up with the extra, it's a full suite of every single Dual Avatar extra deck card, because you're Xeno locked into fusions, and you're not going to be able to make anything but Dual Avatar fusion, so the only 3 are the only other cards you might somehow possibly find a universe in which they appear on your field. So what we got here is 3 Dual Avatar Empowered Kongyo. If it battles, opponents can't activate it. Cards or effects until the end of the damage step, so it's got that neat Ancient Gear Golem effect. But if this card attacks, after damage calculation, you can return 1 monster your opponent controls to the hand, aka you can return Dragoon because this is not a targeting effect. And also when your opponent's spell or trap is activated that targets this card, while you control at least 2 more fusion monsters, you can negate the effect once per turn. So it does have a pretty okay protection effect, but it's obnoxiously locked into spell or trap effects in which it protects. Hence where a bit of the problem with this deck comes from. Up next we have Empowered Mitsuhaku. This card's actually bugged on YGO Pro. You can't actually make it for some reason. This one requires 2 Dual Avatar monsters and feet, while the other one requires 2 Dual Avatar monsters and the fists. This one says the first time Dual Avatar Fusion would be destroyed by battle each turn, it's not destroyed. Once per turn during your main phase, you can return... well, destroy by battle. Once per turn during your main phase, you can return all spell and traps your opponent controls to their hand. And when a monster effect is activated on your opponent's field while you control 2 or more fusion monsters, you can destroy that monster. It's a pretty neat effect, and is probably situational to the deck that you're playing against, but it could be very good. Hence what, well, a lot of these cards could be very good, but moving on to the ones that are probably the most generically applicable, that being the Dual Avatar Fist Armored Agyo, which when it's special summoned, it destroys a face-up attack position monster your opponent controls. So if you tag into this one on your opponent's turn, you can just pop a card on their field if they leave in attack mode. And also, if you use this one with an effect monster, all Dual Avatars you control gain 300 attack and defense. That part's not really relevant, though. Up next, you have 3 copies of Dual Avatar Feet Armored Ungyo, which can affect Veiler, an extra deck monster. And there's also a second, I'm not sure if there's a second effect on this one. It requires you to have summoned it from using an effect monster, which probably would, because you want that effect. And also, if a Dual Avatar Fusion monster you control will be destroyed by a card effect, you can destroy 1 Dual Avatar monster you control instead. So if you just have a token lying around, then you have the Abyss Dweller, Nightmares, Unicorn, and Phoenix. These will probably... I think you might have a universe in which Nightmare Phoenix can be made, but not really the other ones. Onto the side deck. 3 copies of Gamma Seal, because sometimes you can't rely on Empowered Kongyo to remove a Dragoon, but sometimes it just helps to have that extra bit of board-breaking pressure in your side deck. We have 3 copies of Artifact Lancia, a love letter to so many of the decks that are out there right now that this is necessary for. 3 copies of Dark Ruler No More, because if you do put this down on the field, you do actually have the tools to break a board, because you can attack over and pop through stuff. 3 copies of Cosmic Cyclone, because Eldritch is still a thing, and 3 copies of Droll and Lockbird. This could be some other hand trap, but I think that Droll and Lockbird is pretty good against some decks right now. If the format starts to have a completely concrete shape, then pick one that it's most tuned to whatever the format looks like at the moment. Well, hope you enjoy the video, and I hope you have an excellent day.